It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to Friday's Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast. Coming to you from my studio in Forest, Virginia on this, the 16th day of January 2026. We do have some news stories which we'll get to eventually this morning after we do have a special guest. Of course, today's show is brought to you by Will U.S., the owner of Scoot Around, and by Chillie's Cruises. And the news stories this morning, which we'll get to after our little discussion with our guest. Holland America launches new shore excursions for 2026. Carnival warns of PortMiami traffic delays. Labadee canceled for the entire year of 2026. New Points Choice loyalty program launches on the 30th of this month. Jim Shortens Great Stirrup Key visit. Sunday's CocoCay visits were canceled. Dozens of flood cabins flooded overnight and stranded on a tender. That and lots more this morning here at 11 o'clock today. Today is National Fig Newton Day. Not my favorite. I'll leave the Fig Newtons for other folks to eat on. And this day in history, in 2001, President Clinton awards President Theodore Roosevelt a posthumous Medal of Honor. It's pretty sweet. All right, so we've had my guest this morning has been on the show a bazillion times, probably quite a few more than anybody else, I think, as far as my records go. Anyway, you guys all know him. He's the interesting thing about him now, he's got offices all over the world. He's coming to you today from his office in Panama. But we're going to talk about snow in Juneau, which is nothing like Panama. Anyway, here's my special guest for the day, Nate Vallier. Nate, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, Chillie.
All right,
hey,
so you're in Panama where it's not 8 feet of snow.
No, it's 29 degrees Celsius out, so it feels pretty nice.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Juneau and the kind of winter that Juneau is having.
Yeah. So normally when people call us, asking for advice on cruises in Alaska, and they find out I'm actually in Juneau or Skagway, in the summer, they're like, oh, what's it like in the winter? And we really hover between 30 degrees and 35 every day because we're on the Pacific coast. It's warmer water. It's, kind of like, it sounds weird, but the water is always warmer than the air. And so because of that, you'll wake up in the morning, it'll be a little bit chilly, especially if we have cloud cover. And you'll have like some nice little layer of snow on the ground. Sun is not out yet. We don't have sunrise until about 9:30. And then you go to work. The temperature then rises to about 35, so all that snow becomes slush. Or it's raining. Sun sets at 3. Everything then freezes. It's a nightmare. You go home, it's dark, and it's icy. Or raining. And so that's our winter. When we do normally get snow in Southeast, and I don't mean interior like Alaska, like Anchorage, Fairbanks, Nome, Utqiagvik, and all those places. We'll get maybe 6 inches to a foot sometimes, and we get a major snowfall, but then it'll melt in a couple of days because once the clouds roll in, the water heats up the air and everything. And I know, again, it sounds weird, but this is why polar plunges are a thing in Southeast, because water's warmer than the air and you're not freezing to death. But what's happened is we had a massive cold front system come through in December where our temperature was below zero. I want to say we had like 3 weeks of temperatures below 32. And then we just got hit with this massive atmospheric river. I guess it's a word that everyone likes to use. And we got 5 feet in one shot. And it just kept coming more and more and more. So this is outside my friend's house. They have a flat yard. And this house was also one affected by the flood. And if you look behind my truck, you see that big mound. There's nowhere for this snow to go. So they literally just kind of plow it in the middle. So that's in a cul-de-sac. And that mound of snow is actually taller than most people's homes.
Wow.
This is my friend's dog. You can see him out there. He has nowhere to go. That just shows you how high the snow was. Now, if you look up on the roof, and I wish we had pictures of this, we actually had to clear snow off the roof because of snow load. That whole area was covered with snow because we had to shove it all off the roof. But that just shows you just how much snow we had in Juneau. This is driving along. Again, they had to actually use some of the ice cutter, like the snowblower, like ice cutter machines on the road because when they would plow, it would just keep piling up on the side, and they had to use like this big massive snowblower just to get the snow out of the way. So again, that's that's a lot of snow. I don't think people realize just how hard we got hit. And if you live in Fairbanks, Valdez, they're used to getting a lot of snow, but we're not. And this snow wasn't the light powder that people love, skiing. This was wet, moist, heavy. Just, this is the stuff that Calvin and Hobbes would have loved. All right, and this also happened at Fred Meyer, which is a division of Kroger. This was at the gas station. So the snow got so heavy that it actually crushed the gas station. And Kroger ended up closing the Fred Meyer store for, I think, 5 days because they had to bring in people from the lower 48 to help shovel and remove snow off the roof. They had to get a bunch of cranes and everything because the way Fred Meyer was built is not a lot of places here have, actually in most stores don't have, I'm trying to think of the right word, roofs that are at a slope, like Home Depot does just out of their design. But for Fred Meyer, it's a wooden building with wood trusses. And so they're used to getting like a foot or two of snow up there, but not 5. So Fred Meyer was the first Kroger store in history of an entire Kroger chain that had to be closed to remove snow from the roof. Wow. And it just was really interesting. And then what people don't realize is just, how bad it was. And there's a car under that big pile of snow. And again, if you look at the roof, you can just see that snow just sitting up there. And it caused a couple of buildings to collapse. They did eventually do a disaster order, but there's a lot of debate over that because the natural disaster declaration just gives you more assistance for the municipality and for public resources. But, it's not like the National Guard can come in and start clearing snow off people's roofs. So I'll be curious to see what happens with FEMA. But a lot of businesses were closed. Like even with me, with the agency, we lost power quite a bit, lost internet. It was hard. I pretty much lost a week. And so, I go between here and Alaska quite a bit. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll just go to Panama. And even after about 4 days.
The thing that really jumped up and grabbed me, Nate, was that the record for December was broken. The record for snowfall in December.
Yeah. And
that was just a tick sly of 80 inches, 79.6 or something like that. That's the new record for the month of December. The record for the entire year in Juneau. Yeah. Now, this isn't Fairbanks. The record for the entire year, and we still got 3 months plus to go. Yeah, is only 86 inches. I mean, you get 7 more inches in the next 3 months, you're just gonna destroy the annual snowfall record.
Oh yeah, and what's bad about this is our ski resort, Eagle Crest, they had issue because we had those sub-zero temperatures. The water main had burst, and the ski resort hasn't been open, which is, when it rains, it pours. And in this case, it was bad because the ski resort wasn't able to open, and even if they were open, with this massive snow base, you couldn't really get up there, or people couldn't leave homes. But now they're dealing with, because it is getting warmer, avalanche risks, because again, this snow goes all the way up into the ice fields, and these mountains are 3,000 feet all around. In downtown Juneau, for a lot of you people who've been there, it's straight up. And so with this kind of snow, avalanche is a major risk to do a lot of damage. There's just nowhere to put the snow. So again, normally in Alaska, in Juneau, we will get, we'll get some heavy snow, but the way the weather system works with the water, because the Pacific system is such a warmer ocean than the Atlantic, we heat up. So we're normally not this cold ever. I joke with people who call us and want to experience Arctic weather. I'm like, oh yeah, you can come to Juneau, but let's get you to Skagway. And the moment you cross the White Pass, I don't think people are 3,000 feet, you're now in the Canadian tundra, and that is when you get winter. It's like a massive wall, and that's when you can experience minus 30, minus 50, and 10 feet of snow. Like even Skagway is used to more snow than we get in Juneau. So it's really caught a lot of us by surprise. The flights were interrupted. Then Alaska Airlines had issues with a lot of people getting the flu that was going around, so they had a lot of cancellations. And just like I tell people who come to Alaska, you can't really predict our weather anymore. So just be prepared. Bring a poncho, wear layers, and if you're coming to Juneau now, bring a shovel. They will literally, people will buy it from you for $100. So, people even were checking it as a checked piece of luggage. I put that on Facebook. Someone bought a shovel in Seattle and put a bag tag on it, and it was on the bag belt. So,
all right. So now you're back into more favorable climates as far as I'm concerned.
And
I'd rather be in Panama.
Yeah, like I said, in Panama is great. Cost of living here is really cheap. They take US dollar. Wi-Fi, of course, works. And, it's good to be able to service clients again, especially during wave season, because right now is when the cruise lines are pushing a lot of deals to get people and get your money. So.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the cruise lines.
Sure.
Since I'm going on Grandiosa next, that's our next big cruise, and I've got a nice little group growing. I've been following MSC pretty closely, looking for a bargain, because that's always been a good place to find bargains. And right now, they suck.
Yeah. Well, MSC, and everyone on your channel knows this, when they first came, let me rephrase it. They've been in America for a long time, but they've never marketed to Americans. And when they started doing that, they got a bad rap because, you're dealing with the European Italian product, which is different than Norwegian, than Royal Caribbean and Celebrity. And it was hard for a lot of Americans to grasp that, and as MSC has altered their American product, and I warn people about this, especially on the Facebook groups, like I was on Grandiosa in Brazil, and it was freaking amazing. The food was different. The entertainment was till 3 a.m, and then the ship transitioned to Europe, and they weren't partying at 3. The ship is on a European program, and then the ship transitioned to Florida. And then I was on that first cruise, as we talked about, where the ship hadn't transitioned to America yet in terms of their onboard product. And so now that MSC is doing that, where there's a clear service difference between European product, Brazil, Middle East even, and once you get that program, people are now starting to like it more. The food has gotten better. We talk about Diet Coke. People are adamant to get Diet Coke, but you go to Europe and it's Coke Zero, for example, and even in Brazil it's Coke Zero. Like our ship, only a couple of bars had Diet Coke. They literally loaded it in Port Canaveral. So now that MSC's fixed a lot of their errors, and we're seeing less people complain about them and say how horrible they are, and their pricing is now starting to reflect that. Their pricing is reflecting a better product. Their pricing is reflecting better destinations than before, and we're seeing that everywhere. Even Norwegian has reduced a lot of their discounting. Princess, as much as I love Princess, holding elite status with them, their solo rate's horrible. And I don't like sharing a bed. My partner can come with me, but I hate, the two twin beds pushed together don't work for me. So I literally look for cruises where I pay a solo rate. I've not seen a decent solo rate on Princess since September. I just checked. And then, of course, with Royal Caribbean and Celebrity now penalizing us solo cruisers and charging us even more, the deals just aren't there, especially for this winter. I looked at MSC right now. If you do want to find a deal, it's going to mean traveling at last minute. So I did find $600 on Seascape out of Galveston for an interior, and then $940 for a balcony. Again, that's double what we normally pay. And a lot of that's because, people are escaping the cold. We have a colder climate in California, Washington, Alaska. I did find a great deal on World Europa, though, and that's on February 1st out of Juneau for $647. And that does a Western Mediterranean cruise. And then with Royal Caribbean, they do actually have some solo pricing at the end of the month out of LA on Quantum and Navigator. So you can get on there for under $500 a person, which again is still double what we normally see. And so for solo travelers, we don't have the deals. You're just going to have to wait, or put in a fake name when you book, or when you book through you or me. That's what we normally do, and wait until final payments due and see if that rate comes up or changes. But right now, I've got a client coming, trying to come up to Alaska, and no one is given any good deals. She wants a smaller cruise line, and for those guys, you're paying $10,000 a person. And I've kind of told her, I said, look, if you wait till April, we can get you a good deal for solo in Alaska, but it's going to be leaving in May or early June. And so I get it. I know why the cruise lines are doing it. It sucks for us, but it's also just a new future that, during and after COVID, we had 2 really good years of amazing deals on every cruise line. I think you and we even cruised once together. We're paying $700 for balcony cabins on Princess. We did that Alaska cruise. Now, no. I think the cheapest balcony I've seen this year is like $1,400. And even MSC, when they came out with Poesia, they came out with really low rates, and now those rates are all gone. They're skyrocketing. Virgin is still going pretty high, and even Carnival. Just for shits and giggle, I price check Carnival. They're higher than Cunard. You can do a Cunard cruise for half the price of a Carnival cruise. And speaking of Cunard, this is their last year in Alaska. So I don't know what's going on, but Cunard has an amazing deal. They're a great value for their 10-day cruises out of Seattle. Balcony cabins starting at $1,300 to $1,600 a person, and for 10 nights, that's a good deal. But we're going to lose that ship in 2027. I have a feeling that we're going to see another Princess ship. Carnival, again, they're holding their own with their 3 ships in Alaska, but Holland America has no new cruise ships on order. I know that they claim to own Alaska market, but Princess has surpassed them. We're now getting, I think, the Star up there this year. And
you mentioned on Royal a couple special deals on Quantum and Navigator.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a particular fan of the behemoths, the big boys. I've been on both Quantum and Navigator. Mm-hmm. I've been on both of them twice. I love those 2 ships. Mm-hmm. They're probably my 2 favorite ships.
Yeah, and
in the Royal line that I've been on.
So for those prices, like for the Mexican cruises, back in October, November, we were seeing amazing deals for January cruises out of LA. I sold a cruise on Quantum And I joked on a travel agent, someone's trying to push this IntelliTravel bull crap. Oh, become a travel agent, earn your, get your money back. And I showed them, I made 32 cents, on that booking. It's 198 per person. And I'm like, yeah, we'll make a lot of money. I didn't charge them a fee because they were repeat clients, but the days of the pricing, we missed that window, I think. Especially with there being, Easter's gonna be early this year, I think, April 4th.
Yes.
Yeah, Easter's April 5th. So with that happening, we now have a compressed spring break. So now spring break is going to be pretty much March until right by April. So those are going to be the prime times. We will probably start to see some price softening for like around April 10th to the 30th for Caribbean and reposition cruises. We should see those come down in about a month. So if you guys are looking for a cruise and a really good deal and you're thinking April's a good time, based on my experience, we should start to see those prices come down right in about a month is when we'll see that. And then Alaska, that season starts on April 27th. So right now we are just shy of we're just in the 90-day window when travel agents, when group space has to be released. So right now, when you guys look at a cruise for Alaska, whether it's in May, June, July, or August, you may say, oh, they think they're full. There's no cabins. People who hold group space from 8 cabins to up to 30, if they don't use all those cabins, the cruise line gets them back at either 120 days or 90 days before sailing. And then that's when we start seeing more deals come in for that. So we should start to see some Alaska deals chime in pretty soon. And Celebrity's been leading the pack again with Alaska pricing on Cross Gulf so far. Norwegian's going pretty high, with their big ships. They're, granted, I have my own issues with Norwegian. They've done a good job of having a ship as a destination, essentially.
The just purely because a lot of my audience knows how involved I was 2 years ago. Are we going to have Alaska cruises for Alaskans again this year that we're going to promote hard?
Well, they've been pushing some discounting, but because of the California law where they require all the taxes be included, same thing with airlines, the price point, it's that mental thing that hasn't quite hit people. So the Alaska cruises, we're going to be lucky to see them for $550 to $600 a person, which is $249. When you add in all the taxes.
When you add the taxes and port charges back in. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see where that caused some confusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when people see the prices, they think,
I missed that last year when, I stayed on the phone for 3 months for you, selling Alaska cruises to Alaskans.
Oh yeah,
and it was literally I was getting several phone calls a day.
Oh yeah, well, in Holland America, that's their deal was, we were getting these rates of $159 to $299 per person, but then when you include the taxes, it puts it over $500. Yeah. And I don't think we're going to see much of those this year. Holland America's been pretty full, as has Princess. So I think people are starting to book further in advance. They're trying to get the schedules out more. We've got part of 2027 out almost. And like I said, even with MSC, they're learning the market. They're upgrading Poesia, for the market. So we'll see what they do in 2027 with us. And we'll have Explorer up there as well. So in terms of cheap prices, it's going to really depend on the seasonality when you go. Like right now, there's just nothing out there. And it's got a lot to do with the weather, I think. They know that they can charge this premium and people are buying it. So, but yeah,
I have a side question for you.
Sure.
Totally out of the seat of my pants question. You have cruised, I don't, do you even have a number how many cruises you've been on? Several hundred.
I've been on no, well, in terms of cruises, no. I know I've been on 30 ships, and I have sailed 360 cruise days, and I've been to 76 cruise ports. But in terms of actual cruises, I've lost count. Probably over 60.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I'm ahead of you still on number of cruises. That's amazing.
Probably, yeah.
That surprises me. But anyway,
Nope,
if you throw out all the factors that you and I both have lived on over the years, throw out the price, throw out the features, throw out excursions, throw out any number of things. If you could pick a cruise line or a ship to go on a cruise purely for you, not for business, what would that ship be and where would it go?
You asked me a similar question before. In terms of a ship, I'd probably take on the Explorer cruises and Galapagos and just putz around the islands for a week.
Okay. Galapagos. Now that's an interesting destination.
Yep.
Okay.
Love to get down there. So I'm closer now in Panama.
Well, yeah, you could almost you could get on one of those paddle boards and paddleboard to Galapagos from Panama, for God's sakes. I could see you on a paddleboard.
I've tried it.
Yeah. See, they don't make them that'll hold me up. I get on a paddleboard, it'll sink. Same thing with surfing tools.
Yeah.
All right, Nate. As always, thank you for giving us a little bit of time this morning, sharing with us some of our snow stories, and then to talk cruising a little bit as always.
Yep.
So,
all
right. We'll be talking to you real soon. All right, everybody. This is Nate Vallier of Alaska Travel Desk, my friend, my pal. And I'll see you soon, Nate. Thank you. All right. I always love to catch up with Nate. All right, guys. I'll be back with today's news after a quick break from one of those fine network sponsors. All right, so we're going to start off this morning, folks. We've got Nestor all set up for some news here this morning. And Nestor, what you got to lead off?
Holland America Line is elevating destination exploration with the launch of 2 new shore excursion collections designed to deliver deeper, more authentic connections in ports around the world. The new Meet the Makers and Community Connections experiences move beyond traditional sightseeing, inviting guests to engage directly with local people, traditions, and cultures. With more than 150 immersive excursions offered across global itineraries, these curated tours focus on storytelling, craftsmanship, and community. Guests may find themselves sharing family recipes at neighborhood eateries, learning traditional techniques from artisans, or visiting farms and workshops that have shaped regional identities for generations. According to Holland America Line, the new collections were created in response to guest demand for more meaningful travel. Rather than simply observing destinations, travelers are encouraged to step inside kitchens, studios, vineyards, and homes to experience life through a local lens, creating memories that last long after the cruise ends. Meet the Makers excursions spotlight the individuals behind a destination's flavors and traditions, from winemakers and farmers to chocolatiers and olive oil producers. Meanwhile, Community Connections tours focus on personal interaction and cultural exchange, often bringing guests into local homes or lesser-known neighborhoods. Each Community Connections experience also supports local businesses and cultural preservation, aligning with the cruise line's sustainability goals. These new offerings build on Holland America Line's existing immersive shore programs, including experiences developed with the History Channel and National Geographic, further strengthening the brand's emphasis on enrichment-focused travel. Meet the Makers and Community Connections excursions are now available on many Holland America Line sailings worldwide. Select cruises are currently offered with limited time promotions, including reduced deposits and free balcony upgrades. For full details on shore excursions or upcoming itineraries, travelers can consult a travel advisor, visit hollandamerica.com or call Chillie at 434-258-9264. Carnival Cruise Line has warned guests sailing from PortMiami on Saturday to expect heavier than normal traffic due to a local event and high cruise activity. A planned Diplo's Run Club 5K near the cruise port will cause road closures and congestion during the morning embarkation window. The advisory applies to guests booked on Carnival Conquest and Carnival Horizon, both of which are scheduled to depart on popular Southern Caribbean itineraries. In total, 7 cruise ships will be in port that day, adding to traffic volume around the terminals. Carnival emphasized that departure times remain unchanged and reminded guests that arriving late could result in missing the cruise. Travelers are strongly encouraged to allow extra time, monitor real-time traffic updates, and remain flexible with routes as they approach the port. Guests using Carnival's transfer services were also advised that transportation schedules may be affected, though the cruise line is working with providers to reduce delays. Carnival Conquest is departing on a 13-night adults-only cruise, while Carnival Horizon will sail on an 8-night itinerary to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curaçao. Both sailings are in high demand, making timely arrival at PortMiami especially important for embarking guests. Royal Caribbean's Haiti private destination Labadee won't be getting any cruise calls for the entirety of 2026. The long suspension will continue for the rest of this year, out of an abundance of caution, the cruise line says. The country remains under a level 4, do not travel, advisory. The U.S. State Department advises Americans to stay away, due to kidnapping, crime, civil unrest, and limited health care.
We have the equipment you need to stay mobile. Whether you need a wheelchair, scooter, power chair, rollator, oxygen, or other pieces of mobility equipment, Scoot-Around, powered by Will, can help. Once you've booked your rental, we can deliver it to wherever you need. For your mobility needs, contact me or call Scoot-Around at 888-441-7575. Use SRN 11137 for the best rates.
Royal Caribbean Group has announced that its new cross-brand loyalty initiative, Points Choice, will officially take effect for sailings departing on or after January 30, 2026. The program, first revealed late last year, is designed to give cruisers greater flexibility and value when sailing across the company's 3 cruise brands. Points Choice links the loyalty programs of Royal Caribbean International, Crown and Anchor Society, Celebrity Cruises, Captain's Club, and Silversea Cruises, Venetian Society. Under the new system, guests can earn points on any Royal Caribbean Group sailing and apply those points toward status on their preferred cruise line. For example, a traveler sailing with Celebrity Cruises can choose to transfer earned points to Royal Caribbean International to build Crown and Anchor status. Guests will have up to 14 days after a sailing to move points between brands, offering added control over how loyalty rewards are used. Royal Caribbean Group says the new program reflects evolving guest behavior, as more travelers explore multiple brands within the portfolio. Chairman and CEO Jason Liberty noted that Points Choice was created with flexibility in mind, ensuring that every sailing contributes meaningfully to long-term loyalty benefits. With Points Choice, Royal Caribbean Group aims to make every cruise count, no matter which brand guests choose to sail. Norwegian Cruise Line has revised the itinerary for Norwegian Gem's January 20, 2026 departure from Jacksonville, making a late change to the ship's visit to Great Stirrup Cay. The 12-night Eastern Caribbean and Bahamas sailing will now feature a shorter call at the cruise line's private island. Originally scheduled from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Thursday, January 22, the Great Stirrup Cay visit has been moved earlier and reduced by 1 hour. Norwegian Gem will now be at the island from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Guests were notified less than a week before embarkation. Norwegian Cruise Line cited operational efficiency and overall guest experience as the reason for the adjustment, noting that the change is intended to create a smoother and more enjoyable day ashore. However, some guests have expressed frustration, particularly since Norwegian Gem is the only ship scheduled to visit Great Stirrup Cay that day. While no specific reason was provided, increasing afternoon winds in the region may have influenced the decision to move the visit earlier. Despite the explanation, the shortened call has left some passengers disappointed about losing time at one of the itinerary's most anticipated stops. Neither Liberty of the Seas nor Radiance of the Seas made it to CocoCay on January 15. The call to Royal Caribbean's private destination had to be cancelled due to unsafe weather conditions. Both Royal Caribbean ships spent the day at sea instead. MSC Seaview experienced flooding after a pipe burst, impacting Deck 10. The pipe, which is now fixed, was part of the ship's built-in fire safety system. Approximately 40 cruise cabins were affected by the flooding, with these guests temporarily displaced. Most were homes away from home for families with small children and elderly passengers for the duration of the 7-night South American voyage. Tender boat operations on Holland America's Noordam ran into trouble at Kirowina Island, Papua New Guinea, after a sudden 40-knot squall made conditions unsafe for guests. The localized storm arrived quickly, disrupting the tendering process and creating a major challenge for the guests. With winds strong enough to send deck chairs sliding across the open deck, guests rushed indoors as the weather deteriorated. As conditions worsened, the captain suspended tender operations because tenders could no longer safely come alongside the ship. The Post said around 700 passengers who had already gone ashore were temporarily left on the island while the crew waited for the wind to drop enough to resume the transfer process. Once winds eased, crew members restarted the shuttle and brought everyone back on board without reported injuries. From attending an exclusive jazz concert in New Orleans to sampling world-famous barbecue in Memphis or visiting Mark Twain's childhood home in Missouri, you can discover the best of America's heartland when you join us on board the elegant Viking Mississippi. Unpack once and let us take care of the rest as you immerse yourself in the distinctive music, cuisine and history of this vibrant region. Reserve your Mississippi River voyage today with a $25 deposit to receive free airfare and your choice of bonus savings on select 2026 and 2027 departures. For more information and booking, call 434-258-9264 or email chillie@bookalaska.net.
All right, that puts an end to the news portion of today's show. Once again, thanks to my pal Nate Vallier for joining us today. Always good to draw on some of his knowledge and experience. And of course, he's been a travel agent for a long, long time. All right, so let's go over and see who's over in the chat room this morning fussing at me. Gary Older Than Dirt is the first one in the house today. Good morning, Gary. There's Mike with us on the other side of the pond. Bob's here. 3 weeks till the cruise. Can't wait. I agree, Bob. We're getting close for me, too. Unfortunately, I'm not near done as much as I've got to have done before I leave here. So it's going to be a pretty busy weekend for me hopefully getting caught up. Joanne is with us. Says hello to Nate. There's Gretchen out in Ohio. Hi, Gretchen. There's Steve in Kentucky. Good morning, Steve. Joanne says, holy smokes, Nate. She was referring to the snow. And what happened to the chat room? That is extremely strange. There has been no chat since Joanne said, holy smoke to Nate, when I was showing the pictures of the snow. That was early in the proceedings. All right, now let me just try to see if this pulls up anymore. This might kick me off the air. I'm going to try to refresh the chat room without kicking myself off the air. If I should blank off, folks, just sit tight. I'll be back. There we go. Okay, so Bob, holy smoke. We were just listening to Nate and you and Nestor. Listening. That wasn't on the air? Are you serious? You guys were listening today, but you couldn't see anything? Is that what you're saying? Wow. I have no idea what caused that one, because I'm showing that I'm on the air right now. And I'm showing I'm back on. We weren't talking to each other. No, it was all it was all okay. Whew. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gretchen. You mean y'all were paying attention for a change and I missed it? Holy hell. Oh, that's funny. All right, guys. Mike said I watched all. Yes, okay. So there's several people here that are actually paying attention today. That's great. All right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. Again, man, I got a ton to do. I got a load in my car to go to Goodwill, which I'm going to be doing here shortly. Jason, I think I saw a message that Jason needs me to send him a power of attorney. So I got to see about that. And then I got more stuff to pack up. So it's going to be a busy weekend. All right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. As always, smash that thumbs up button. That'll help. If you have not joined us, please take this as my invitation to join us by subscribing. So subscribe, hit the bell notification. You'll be notified when I go live or when a new video is posted. In the meantime, guys, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see everybody back here on Monday.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry, so if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.